Today's video, we're going to talk about a brand new knife from Schrade, the SCHF26 Extreme Survival Knife. My name's Brian, and you are watching Survival on Purpose. Okay, well, thanks for joining me again on Survival on Purpose. And today's video, like I said, is going to be, I got a new knife from Schrade to review, and it is the SCHF26. And the way this came about is thanks to you guys. When I actually looked into being able to review the SCHF27 as the first person on YouTube to get to review that knife, you guys were overwhelming in your response and your comments, and a couple of you even said, you know, you bought the knife and you were happy with it and all that. And so, lo and behold, I got an email the other day from the VP of Marketing at Schrade and asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing another knife. And I said, yeah, let me think. Sure, why not? You know, if you're going to send me a knife, I'll be happy to review it. I was pretty happy with the last one, so I was really excited and kind of interested to see what this one was going to be. As it turns out, let's take a look at it. So I just wanted to show you the box basically because I think Schrade's boxes are pretty cool. They're nice, bright green. You can't miss them. So we're going to go ahead and readjust the camera and show you the specs and the close-ups, and then we'll do some use testing on the knife and see how it works. So let me get this camera moved around and I'll be right back. Okay, this is the Schrade Extreme Survival SCHF26 full tang survival knife, and this knife retails for somewhere around 30-35 bucks on the internet. You can find it in a lot of places, maybe in your local stores, somewhere in that price range, so it's pretty good value. It is a full tang knife. As you can see, the tang extends all the way down through. It's just two slabs bolted to a piece of steel. The steel itself is 8CR13 MOV, high carbon stainless with a black coating on it. It is a drop point type blade, and it has this kind of a false recurve on it. It's a textured TPE handle scales, and you can see they got a little texture on there, really grippy. In addition to that, it has both spine here and grip jimping, and it's got a little bit of jimping on the bottom too, so you can really get a lot of traction if your hands are wet or whatever. It has a lanyard hole, and this knife comes with a ballistic nylon sheath. It's like this, and it's got a little pouch on the front of it, and a leg tie down, lanyard tie down, and then it's got the little Velcro closure here, which I'm not too fond of. I kind of agree with Chris Prepared Mind 101. Those things kind of get screwed up over the years, and if they fail, then your knife's subject to fall out. And this thing is actually lined with you can see it's lined with like a plastic type liner, so that's a good thing. And the blade actually fits in here pretty well, just like this, and you know, the Velcro. So I kind of like snaps myself, so. And that's pretty much the specs of it. Now the blade itself is 5.4 inches long, so it's about 5.5 inches long. The overall length is 10.8 inches, and it weighs about 14 ounces, or about 3/4 of a pound. So it's a pretty hefty knife. So that's the specs on it. What I like to do now is just to see how well this thing actually performs. Okay, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I'm somewhat of a fire junkie, pyromaniac, whatever, and one of my favorite things to use is a ferro rod. So one of the tests I always do on every knife that I'm going to have with me in the woods is to make sure I can strike a ferro rod or fire steel on it. So I think there's several opportunities here on this jimping. I'm going to try, first of all, on this little flat part of the spine. It seems like a pretty sharp 90 degrees, so let's see what happens. Oh, there we go, first strike. So really good, actually. I have to give that one a A+ on the ferro rod. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of chopping here in a minute and some use, but I want to show you the difference between these two blades. This is the SCHF27 that I reviewed earlier, this one, and this is the HCF26. You can see that the 26 is a little shorter, but it's actually a little meatier and a little heavier. So you say if you saw the chop test on this one, if you didn't, I'll put a link to that video at the bottom. You can see it because I want to spend the time on this new knife, the 26. So I will see how well this thing does some chopping. I think it will. It's got a pretty good bit of mass right here in this part of the blade. I think it'll do pretty good, but Let's get this thing dirty. Not too bad, I don't think. For a medium blade knife, it's a 5.5 inch blade, less than a pound. You can kind of, this jimping here really gives you a good purchase. And the way this grip is here, you can really get a pretty good little grip on it down here and get some good leverage. The shape of the blade seems to lend itself pretty well to chopping. This part here seems to be a good target. I thought it might be this top part, but actually you have more leverage right in there. So. Okay, so I've got a piece of kind of dead solid wood. In here is pretty solid, so I'll try to baton this. It's one of the things that's pretty important from a bushcraft perspective anyway. Again, we have a 5.5 inch blade, so you're going to be limited to exactly how thick a piece of wood you can baton, but this is probably about 3 inches, so let's see what happens. Probably going to lose part of this bark, but some hard wood too. Very hard wood. There we go. So took a little doing this. You can see this is kind of twisted. That usually makes it pretty tough. Look close, you can see this is kind of twisted right here. So that definitely makes it kind of tough. I believe this looks like oak, but let's take one more shot at it with a little smaller piece now. See how well it works. Okay, so I'd say that's a pass. Pretty decent job of processing some firewood. Okay, well, we've seen this thing will strike a ferro rod pretty well. It chops pretty decently for a 5.5 inch blade knife. Splits wood, okay, but it is actually a knife, and the primary function of a knife is to cut things and carve things. I was pleasantly surprised with the edge this thing came with. It's pretty sharp right out of the box, and so see how well it performs actually doing the task a knife was designed to do. So I've actually got a little green stick that was bent over. It's probably going to die, so go ahead and try it on some piece of green wood first. And this kind of concave or recurved blade shape here actually gives you a couple different options for carving. The outer part might be pretty decent for skinning. It's got a nice little belly in it, and this part here would be pretty good for doing woodworking, I would think. And this is a piece of green, I think it's beech. Like I say, the limb was broken down, and so I thought I'd go ahead and try. See how well this thing carves. You got a lot of blade real estate here to work with, so it actually does pretty good. And when you get out of that bark, it actually can cover some pretty thin curls in this green wood. Now obviously you wouldn't use green wood for a fire stick, or for a feather stick rather, so, but you can see it does. Now see how well it does in a piece of drier, deader wood. Okay. I'm not the greatest feather stick maker in the world, as you may have seen in some of my other videos. As you can see, definitely get some curls there. So it's pretty sharp, pretty good carver, and the recurved blade shape I think gives you a couple of options for different uses. Okay, so well, before we wrap this video up, I want to talk a little bit about the sheath. As you can see, here's the sheath. It's just a ballistic nylon type sheath, and it has a pocket on the front of it, which is right now it comes with whatever little silica gel they put in here to keep your knife from getting moisture, but it's a pretty good sized pocket. I can envision a couple of uses for it. Actually, in my case, I like to keep this Smith's pocket pal. It's a pretty good field sharpener. It'll fit in there perfectly and still have room for the ferro rod and the striker, which you don't need because this is really good. This knife functions very well for a striker, and the close. So you could put a sharpener and a ferro rod in the pouch. You have kind of a little self-contained mini kit, and then the knife itself, if you can see, there's a plastic liner in here, and it just slides in like that. Now you got to have these retaining straps. It's just going to fall right out. There's no retention there whatsoever. So you got this Velcro type retaining strap, and it works really good. I'm a little concerned sometimes Velcro fails or it gets clogged up or dirty or whatever, but I say that, you know, I've got sheaths that got Velcro that are 15, 20 years old that are still doing fine, so it's not that big a deal for me at the price point. And then it's got a lanyard at the bottom where you can tie this thing down to your leg or whatever to keep it from flopping around. Just a little belt loop up top, nothing fancy at all. It's not really like Molly compatible or anything, but for the money, again, this is $35. So that's a pretty handy. I like the pouch on front. I think that's a pretty handy addition. And you can look at if you can see the texture on these handles, it's not really a lot of texture, but they're pretty grippy. And then you got that jimping on back again, and on the front, and a little lanyard hole. So altogether, it's just a really, really well-feeling, well-balanced knife. I wasn't real sure about this recurved blade shape when I first got it, but turns out I really like it. It's good. I think it lends a lot of versatility. It's a very versatile blade shape. Okay, folks. Well, that was the Schrade SCHF26 Extreme Survival Knife, and I got to tell you, I'm going to use this thing for a little while. I'll be camping and actually probably use it in the upcoming weekend here, going on a camp out. But for an under $50 knife, this may be one of my new favorites. It's just from this initial test, it just feels really good in my hand. It's got a really good weight to it. I kind of like a heavy kind of knife for basic survival stuff, and I think it's just a good solid value for, like I say, around 30-35 bucks. So it comes with this sheath, which I really like. I like having a pouch on a sheath. It fits pretty good. It's a pretty simple basic sheath, which is fine with me. And again, we'll be getting back to you, I guess, with a follow-up after I've used it for a little while. But my initial I guess take on it is it's a really solid knife, and it's really good value. It's under 50 bucks, like under 40 bucks even. So if you're looking for a really solid knife, and look, I know I'm going to get these comments say I'm only saying this because Schrade sent you this knife for free. Well, look, I didn't ask them to send it; they sent it. If it was junk, I probably just wouldn't have made this video. I'm not going to trash, I'm not going to trash somebody that sent me a product unless I think it's something dangerous. But I mean, it's a $40 knife, and it's solid as a rock. It passed every test I gave it. It passed the fire steel test. It passed the chopping test. I mean, it's not an axe, but it's a knife, you know. It passed the baton test, and it was a pretty tough, kind of twisty piece of wood. It even carves very well. So, and if you were a person that throws knives, yeah, I can imagine this probably would throw very well. So, that's why I give it a good recommendation. Think what you may. Okay, well, once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. If you haven't done so, please do so. You'll get notified of any new videos that are coming up, and you'll be part of our wonderful community we got here, Survival on Purpose. If you like this video, give it the old thumbs up down below. I'd appreciate it. Let YouTube know you like it. Tell your friends about it. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. And thanks a lot. Remember, my name's Brian, You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival is not an accident, so be prepared. See you next time.